to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Alright, pirates, so I know I said that there was a lot of news, but there isn't actually a whole lot of news. Instead, I got a chance to sit down and talk with Captain Falcore from the YouTube channel for about an hour 45, about an hour 40 or so, and we covered just about everything that isn't under NDA, and most of it comes with the speculation for what's coming in the future with Sea of Thieves, and a lot of that's just because we're both two really big fans of the lore, and as such we wanted to kind of think about like some of the grandest ideas we could possibly think of what could be coming in the game, in the comics, in the stories. And we did find out from Rare that they are working on a new book and new comics. So here is the actual audio. I'm leaving it uncut, so that way you have a chance to kind of listen to everything. It's a really great conversation, and I hope you enjoyed it or I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed actually having it with Captain Falcore. So shout outs to Captain Falcore for taken some time this weekend to sit down and talk with me and work on this, and hopefully we'll get a chance to actually do this again in the future. I hope so, because it's so nice to be able to have good conversations about games with other people and speculate on some of the cool stuff that could be coming into the game. So if you like these ideas, let Rare know. Please share this with the devs. Point out them and be like, hey, you guys really need to listen to this because it's a good episode. So if not, I guess I don't really have to worry about it at that case. But regardless, I had a good time. I hope you enjoy how much fun I had with him doing this, and I'm going to have all of his links in the show notes as always, because I want to make sure that if you don't know, I don't know how you wouldn't know who Captain Falcore is. He's so prominent on Twitter and YouTube that I would be remiss to mention that he is probably one of the top YouTubers for Sea of Thieves right now, and Sea of Thieves has done so much for his channel. So God, I can't. I think I can stop talking about that. But regardless, enjoy the next couple hours of conversation. And as always, thank you, pirates. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for reaching out to me. I'm postponing all of the other stuff like stories, questions, all of that for next week when we get a little more information from Rare as we start getting into the 3 weeks of lead up to Tall Tales, to the anniversary update, arena, things like that. When we get weekly updates from Rare again and they get a little more in-depth onto the type of stuff that they're going to be doing, and we can talk a little bit more about it, then I'll start kind of fielding some of those questions that you've sent out, reading some of those reviews that you've put in, some of the stories that you've shared, and we'll kind of get back to the normal routine of episodes. But for the beginning of the year, I just wanted to take a few episodes if I can. There's a couple more people that I want to talk to, and some from Rare as well, that I want to have these conversations with before the big update comes, because I think once the update comes, that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about for quite a while. So I wanted to take some time before then, as there's going to be lighter news weeks, and really kind of touch base with other community members and get their side of the story, get to know them a little bit better. And I had a great time doing this. So again, thank you, pirates. I love you. I hope to see you on the Sea of Thieves. So, Falcore, I just kind of starting off, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
I really appreciate you having me. I've been wanting to chat with a lot of the Sea of Thieves content creators for a long time, and I've been meaning to talk with Captain J and Jeff Perez, just a few of the people out there who've done a lot of work. And over the last year, you've just kind of come out of nowhere and just really stamped your foot on the ground to kind of plant your spot and say, like, I'm part of this community as well too. And I remember watching the video that you put up of basically like who you are and who you are as a podcaster, and like how you got to, you know, playing Sea of Thieves and stuff. But I kind of wanted to let you kind of tell that story for the people that may not have, like, I don't know anyone that doesn't know you, but I figured someone out there must not be interested in YouTube, and I would like to kind of like have you tell me a little bit about like, because you used to do like VR chat and Grand Theft Auto videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And you've been funny in all of them, which is great, because it's fun to go back and watch those. And I noticed that you actually used to be a lot more like mature as far as like your like expletives and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
So in moving into Sea of Thieves, I haven't really noticed that much.
No,
that seems like something you've curved off on purpose. So like as a YouTuber, like what kind of got you into doing YouTube?
Well, I've always loved doing video editing. I mean, it was part of I'm a freelance graphic designer. That's my job. And that usually involves doing people's weddings videos, and really, I don't want to say boring, but it is boring. And but I do enjoy doing video editing, so I've always wanted the reason to do it. And I think that's partly what got me into YouTube, because I enjoy playing games and I enjoy video editing. So I was like, well, put the two together, make a YouTube account.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where it all stems from. So I started doing, just anything I could get my hands on. And it wasn't, I mean, I was enjoying doing it. I've always enjoyed doing it. But the thing is that the views I was getting and the comments I was getting was sort of putting me into an area where I was like, is there any point in doing this anymore? Because I'm literally, casting my views about games and comedy and stuff to a dead audience. And I was like, there's really not much point in doing this. So I guess you brought up me saying that about I was a lot more mature. When I say I was a lot more mature, I guess you could say I was a lot more immature back then. But I was swearing whenever I could. I would bring up controversial topics just to try and get views, really. I know that sounds very, very vain, but it was a weird point, because you had to sort of break through the YouTube shell, so to speak, to get into the limelight.
Yeah.
So sometimes it was quite desperate. I was doing things that were just, I made one video, I remember, about, was it No Man's Sky? Yes, the game produced by Hello Games. And at the point, there was all these portals around that you couldn't activate. So I made a very, very clickbait style video saying that I opened the portal. I managed to open the portal. And it was essentially, I think it was actually an April Fool's video. And I was walking around doing all these different things and telling people how to open the portals. And it was basically an April Fool's, where it was portaling me into different games and loads of different games. I was I was swearing a lot. And it got really popular. I think I got like 100,000 views on that. And I thought, this is amazing. My YouTube channel is now going to, go into the sky, and I'm going to be really, really successful. But it was like a one-hit wonder. It just sort of, it frittered away and went back into the normality of, 10 views per video. But when I got into Sea of Thieves, it was around a kind of crucial point in my life, because I was in a relationship with this very... I don't really want to bring that up, but a very aggressive, emotionally aggressive woman at the time. So I think that showed in a lot of my videos, because I was sort of using my videos as a way to, I can't think of the words, a way to kind of get rid of those emotions by putting them out into the real world as comedy and stuff.
Yeah.
And
you're just kind of like using that as your tool to, the way most musicians would make music about what they know.
Yes, I suppose so.
YouTube videos kind of reflected the emotional state that
yes, exactly, yeah. And I was in a very fragile emotional state at that point, so my videos got more and more elaborate and more excessive nonsense and swearing and all sorts. And yeah, it was quite a weird time for me. But then I met this girl. I'm with that girl. Met my wife. Actually, it might just use this as a point to actually tell the full story behind that, because I actually met her through Match.com. After I split up with my girlfriend, which was a good sort of 4-year process, because it was horrible splitting up with her. But I decided to put myself out there and went on Match.com and met this girl. We went out for a few dates, and it was probably as fast as it took me to grow on YouTube. It was as fast with me and her in a relationship. It just went from better to better. And yeah, we got married, and that was around. Thank you very much. That was around the time when Sea of Thieves was just coming into light. I think it was in the beta at this point. So I started doing videos on that, and I've always loved pirate type stuff. It's just what little boy does not like pirate type stuff. So it's bringing back a lot of memories, a lot of nostalgia on that. So I thought, I'll go ahead and start doing videos on this. And then because I was in a very good mental state at that time, I didn't have a need to swear. I didn't have a need to clickbait. I didn't have a need to try and get myself out there. And I think that was the blessing in a sense, that I kind of calmed myself down a little bit and started to show me rather than this fake me. And I think, I like to think that that's what drew people towards me, is that I was sort of being genuine. I wasn't being a fake YouTuber. I was being just me playing a game. And then of course I
think with YouTube,
exactly. And
you really you have to be that, like, look at me, do as much as you can. The saying, like, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, that's
people tend to latch on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the thing is I've always had, ever since doing Sea of Thieves content, I've just always said to myself, just always be yourself and just bring your videos out there. If people don't like it, they don't like it, but it's going well so far. And one of these days it probably will. It'll probably crash down. I mean, good things never last. And but I'm just going along for the ride now, and it's a very, very nice ride. Or you could say voyage, I suppose, going along for the voyage.
But it's a good venture for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and so, man, I had so many questions just popped up into my head as soon as we were talking about. First off, I was curious. I grew up watching the Neverending Story films as well too. Been a huge fan since I was always a kid.
Yeah.
The song. There was all Adult Swim games came out with a robot unicorn attack game for phones that had the song, the lead song from Neverending Story, and I would play that game or just have the title up for some reason. That was worth it for me to listen to that song just because it reminded me of Neverending Story so much. So what about Neverending Story hooked you so hard that you were like, I love the Luck Dragon?
I mean. I think for me, because I grew up a bit of a strange heritage with me, because I was born in Wales, but I grew up in the Middle East because my dad was a contract quality control contract manager for a concrete company. So he basically had us going out to the Middle East to so we could be close to him. So problem was, in the Middle East, although we lived on a kind of an American compound, there was no TV signal. Well, there was a TV signal, but it was all Arabic style TV. So we basically we had to rely on videos, or VHS as it was at the time. And we had a collection of movies, and one of them was Goonies. One of them was 24 episodes of Knight Rider. And the other one was Neverending Story, and I just fell in love with the movie, mainly because it's a great movie, but also because it was the only film I had I could watch. I watched it over and over again, and I used to sort of have dreams about Falcore coming to me and letting me fly him, and so we could take on bullies and all this kind of stuff. So I loved the movie so much, and it stuck with me, and I've always had some form of Neverending Story memorabilia hanging around me. It's whether the Orin, which is my channel's logo, or I've got a plushie, a Falcore plushie that somebody made me. And I've got 6 copies of the book, all the different types of the hardback, the actual proper Neverending Story book. But Falcore's been he really is the embodiment of adventure, and I guess that's why I brought him into my Sea of Thieves content. So that's pretty much that. I remember when growing up, when usernames were a brand new thing, and people are like, you mean I can't just use my real name? Like, no, don't use your real name. And they're like, what are you gonna come up with? And I'm like, I don't know. So I remember registering for the Nintendo chat channel that they had back on their website forever ago, and I had to sign up, and I had to give myself
an email address, and my first email address was Falcore 2000.
Nice.
Because I was like, oh well, it's in the future, and I love Falcore, so I went with Falcore because I just thought it was such a cool name from the Luck Dragon and stuff. So I my childhood has definitely been like sprinkled with Neverending Story here and there as I was growing up, and I just, oh man, it is a perfect analogy for adventure and just like, you know, having a very kind of righteous moral compass.
Yes,
if you'd say.
Yeah.
Like, he's always been kind of the one to push to have like do the right thing.
Yes,
you know, and just trust that things will work out.
Yeah.
Which is what kids need, I guess.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Although it was only recently I found out that there was 3 Neverending Stories, and it was probably about 2 years ago I watched the second one, and I mean, it was okay.
Yeah.
But then I watched
the
third one. My God, what did they do? What did they do? It was
you
so
soon
bad.
realized the people that were giving out money to the filmmakers who were just like, yeah, I loved Neverending Story, that did great, my kids loved it, and they're like, you want to make another one? They're like, yes.
Yeah.
They're like, great, here's some money, here's some shrooms, have fun.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who they employed for the plot of the third one, but yeah, he definitely had some sort of drug taking involved in that one, definitely. The first one as well, let's face it. But
yeah, but at least you could at least point to a book and be like, no, he did it first.
Yeah, exactly.
As this one, it was just like, oh man,
yeah.
Okay. And I wanted to, I got into the Falcore thing. So with Sea of Thieves, like I wanted to bring this up because I was thinking about it, and I like you love pirates, and I've loved pirates since I was a kid, and I wanted to ask what your top 5 like pirate films are, and they could be the Pirates of the Caribbean ones, they could be weird ones that no one have ever even watched, but do you have like 5 pirate films that you would like say are your top 5?
I mean, yeah, it's you have to bear with me because trying to find the titles of some of them, I can't. I'm a little bit fuzzy on that, but I would say number 1, although it's not really a pirate movie, but it's got pirates in it, is definitely The Goonies. It will always be The Goonies. I wouldn't. Yeah. It's not really a pirate movie, but you know, it embodies the whole feel of piracy, so that's probably my first one, and then a second would have to be the original Pirates of the Caribbean, the very first movie. I mean, I like the other ones, but that's what brought it all together.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of a third one. I can't actually remember the name of this one, but it had I can't even remember the woman's name. Goddamn, what's her name? She was in Thelma and Louise, very wide-chinned woman.
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to remember what that was called. It was Cutthroat Island.
Cutthroat Island. That's it. Yeah. That was a good movie. It was a proper sort of swashbuckling type movie, and you know, it wasn't action packed and stuff like Pirates of the Caribbean, but you know, they had pirate ships in it and sword fights. It's all you need, and treasure.
So that's 3.
Yeah, I would say. I suppose, is it really a pirate movie? But it's the Disney film Treasure Island. I guess it is a pirate movie, really.
Yeah.
But definitely. Yeah. I'm trying to. I get so mixed up with Disney films in my head because I've seen so many of them, and I'm like, hang on, is Treasure Island the one with the green monster in it? No, that's Monsters Inc. but
yeah, there's so many.
Yeah, and then for a 5th, I don't know. Let's think.
Trying to think of, because I definitely have a fair few that aren't on your list, but they're definitely pirate films that every time I think about them, I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I mean the 5th one, I wouldn't. It's not really a film, but if I had to put it into a category, it would probably be the series Black Sails. That's definitely one that I've just enjoyed watching. But it's really difficult because, you know, normally I would have loads of films in my head, but you ask the question now, and I'm just like, hang on, what is a pirate movie?
That's usually how it goes. But, that's always name your top. Wait, my mind just went blank.
It's like when people ask me what my favorite game is, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. So I can definitely agree with you on the Goonies and Pirates of the Caribbean. Those are definitely in my top 5. I've always had a fondness for the Muppet Treasure Island movie,
of course, yes,
with Tim Curry.
Yes.
God, man, I love that. And I can't argue the Black Sails. I still need to sit down and finish that series. I've been avoiding finishing it just because I don't want it to actually end.
Yes, I know what you mean.
But man, watching that film and just seeing like how much effort they put into it, it's just like, man, this is like a proper pirating experience. That's kind of what I liked about like The Walking Dead when that first came out. I was excited because I was like, great, I love to see a long form zombie story and see what happens beyond 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, the Black Sails was great. And then for me, I would definitely say while the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise is definitely up there, I have a special place in my heart for Treasure Planet.
Yes.
That was just one of those
actually
combinations.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, that's the film I was thinking about, not Treasure Island. It was Treasure Planet. That's the film I meant. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, such a good movie. And I can't even remember. I'm pretty sure it's Disney, but I'm pretty sure that it had a lot of like Don Bluth influence.
Yes, it definitely did.
To the design. But yeah, God, those movies were great.
Yeah.
Which kind of takes me, because I had a reason why I wanted to bring up the stories. So with films, like Sea of Thieves is such a great story and such a great game, and we're getting all this lore coming with the Tall Tales.
Yes.
And we can't really talk about it.
No.
But I did want to kind of like the idea of a Sea of Thieves film. Like if you could have one that was centered around what we know of the lore right now, like is there a character that you would love to see? Like would you like to see like Athena's Fortune put out as like an actual
definitely
movie?
Yes, definitely. It's got, I mean, the potential is groundbreaking, really. And also there's not many. Well, I can't remember the last time there was a good pirate movie, obviously from Pirates of the Caribbean, but apart from that, I can't remember a recent good pirate movie. And I think there's a kind of a yearning for that at the moment. I think a lot of people want a good pirate movie, especially with the success of Black Sails. Like it's a lot of people want it. So yeah, definitely Athena's Fortune would be an amazing thing. But the one character I would like to see centered around is definitely Rathbone, aka the Gold Hoarder.
Yes.
But yeah, I would love to see a proper in-depth story behind that.
So I'm a huge movie fan, and I love films that center around having a proper villain. And I feel like the better a villain is, especially if it's a villain that you can relate to, the better the hero can be.
Yes,
because if the hero's over the top and the villain is like meh, then you're just like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
He doesn't really leave this to the police. But you take like a film like Dark Knight with Heath Ledger as the Joker, and we're talking like really good villain. So having Rathbone as a really good villain, and in the book he is so well written. He's really very clear and concise on what he wants, and he's very, very much willing to do whatever it takes to actually get that. And I totally 100% agree that having Rathbone as a villain would be great to see in like a full-length feature.
It really would, yeah. Or maybe a series. That would be good. Sea of Thieves series.
Series would be really good. Yeah. Even if it was just like a one-off, 8 episode series that they could do.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
I would love that. So, and did you? So, oh man, and we're huge lore guys too. You and I have been giddy over just like silly things in the game, and that's kind of where you got started with the YouTube channel too. Like you actually went out and started doing like a lot of the Sea of Thieves secrets and whatnot. Someone brought up to me, I'm pretty sure it was X-Ray Lex on Twitter, brought up to me that we haven't had like a proper lore update since the Devil's Roar. And one of the things that he asked me that I wanted to bring up with you is regards to the Tales of the Sea of Thieves pages that we got with the Curse Sails and the Devil's Shroud. Do you think we're going to be getting any more of those pages, or do you think
you mean like a continuation of that storyline, or?
Yeah, in the sense that like every update they always post on their website, they always have a found page from Nura, who's kind of taken over the journal logs since Diving Bell and Flameheart. Since as far as we know, we're not getting Flameheart anytime soon.
No.
He's still kind of an enigma. Do you think that with Tall Tales we'll see like an update from Nine Cats Nura? Do you think we'll see anything as far as
it's interesting because I don't know whether they're going to be going from I've got to be careful I don't slip up with any insider stuff here, but I don't know whether they're going to be going, because those pages have been coming out for, as you said, Cursed Sails and Forsaken Shores, but I don't know whether they're going to start actually putting those into the game rather than, because it's been one of my main one thing that's grind my gears about the Sea of Thieves is that although they've got all this extensive lore outside of the game, and it really, really is very good, it has always annoyed me a little that they've never put that into the game where everybody can enjoy it, because at the moment it's one of the main reasons people come to my YouTube channel is because they're looking for the story. And I suppose in some ways Tall Tales may put me out of a job, come to think of it. I didn't think about that. But I think that's probably what's going to happen now, is they're going to kind of merge what do they call it, the third party lore with the game itself. At least I'm hoping that's what they do, so that everybody can enjoy it on the same levels that everybody else has enjoyed, like you myself and yourself as well. But
and that kind of brings me into what I was what I found out actually yesterday. So at the EGX Rezzed convention, Joe Neat sat down with the news pundit, and forgive me if I don't know his name. I just barely got to watch it, but he actually talked about the fact that we are due, or that they are working on more comics and a new novel, and that Chris Alcock is actually making a new novel. Now, back in August, I want to say, during New York Comic Con, they talked about how they were going to be bringing out new comics in new and interesting ways. And that those comics would not be released in stores. Right. And that led me to the idea that those that they were going to be in game, and that they were going to be tied around the trade companies, and that the trade companies, in my mind, I always thought that they were going to be like a reward. Like if you had leveled up the trade companies up to level 50, then you would have access to like a book in game, or like an achievements panel. And they have all those photos for each of the achievements once you hit them, and you can download them, you can use them as wallpapers and stuff. But having like a comic revealed in the game, or as a result of playing the game, to me was an interesting concept.
That is,
but since New York Comic Con, we haven't heard anything in regards to those comics, and yet now we have Joe going on stage and talking about more comics coming. Do you think that they're still working on those trade company comics?
It's definitely something that would enrich the game a lot in new and interesting ways. But that's definitely something that would be an awesome addition to the game. I mean, another idea is they could be using the comics as a kind of cutscene system. So rather than it just being a comic that you can download, it's something that plays after a certain commendation or something. That would be a nice addition. But yeah, definitely cool. Having the game release the comics to you from achievements is a really nice way for them to go. Hopefully that's what they'll do, but we'll just have to wait and see, I suppose.
what do you think about like a having an actual, so with like the intro, everyone always skips it, but with the intro, it tells a story as it kind of traverses across this map and talks about all the different like trade companies and what you're going to be doing and the goal of becoming a pirate legend. Would you be like interested in seeing, well, I'm sure you'd probably be interested, but what do you think about telling like a comic book story in that style where it's an actual in-game render and it's telling this story, but the story is like this kind of voyage that you're taking as this camera kind of pans over different parts of this table
that would be
and
nice.
Shows you, like reveals everything in the comic like it does in the opening.
That would be definitely something very nice to see, wouldn't it? Just I mean, it's one thing that I've been disappointed about is with every expansion, they've always kept the intro, I suppose you could say, exactly the same. It's never changed. And it would be nice if they started, like you said, having the comic book sort of get better and better, or more storylines with the comic book with each expansion. So you're almost having to wait for the expansion for the next chapter of the comic book, which would be a nice little feature.
That's funny because it makes me think of the I noticed. I remember you had made was it a tweet where you had actually taken some of the loading screens and actually edited the text to properly reflect like what happens in the game.
That's right.
So it kind of reminds me of like, because those screens actually are kind of like they are infographics. They basically tell you like what's going to what you should be doing in the game and little tips and tricks and stuff like that. I don't know how I feel about them changing the intro, because I mean I still find like fresh pirates, and having fresh pirates like see the intro to me in my mind kind of sets up that story of like, here's the introduction, like here like cartoons used to do this a lot, where they'd be like from last week's episode, and then as soon as you got into the game you would jump in and you would pick up where you left off. But I definitely would like to see like the actual intro to that have the story continue, like introduce you to the trade companies and then be like, oh, by the way, Wanda went crazy, killed herself or turned herself into a skeleton, had a fleet, we defeated the fleet, and then discovered all these volcanoes in the Roar in Stitcher Gym, and then went into dealing with, like have like all of the content updates. Because I was thinking about this the other day. Anyone that joins the game right now probably has no clue what Stitcher Gym is.
Exactly, yeah.
No clue.
Yeah.
He's not in the game. He's not mentioned anywhere. There's like a few mentions from the Captain Morrow about like who this guy is, but other than that, like a lot of the lore that was released in game has like hints of it. Like you can't talk to Merrick, you can see a photo out there, but unless you find his journals and know what it's referencing, like they're just kind of little spotty bits of lore that are left around, and you're kind of left piecing together what's going on. Not too dissimilar from the wall paintings that you've done videos on, as far as like what are the boar race doing and where is their giant god? How do you feel as far as like Rare leaving a lot of that past in the past?
Well,
for new players,
I mean it's kind of difficult for them, isn't it? Because they're introducing this sort of very open world, do what you want, sandbox, make your own adventure type game. But at the same time, they have this very rich lore that is dotted around the place that they only give tiny little hints to. And it is fun trying to put it together yourself, but not everybody's got the time to do that. And they need to. Well, I don't want to use the term they need to do it. I'm hopeful with all this Tall Tale stuff that's coming out that they're going to be centering, or rather, like I've said before, really bringing all of these stories toward people, and stuff like Stitcher Jim, Wanda the blacksmith or the warsmith. That's something that I hope they tie ends up with in these Tall Tales. I mean, it would be great. For an example, I mean, I know what's the Tall Tales they said's coming in the anniversary? Is it Shores of Gold? They said, wasn't it? It's the first one to come. I would like to think that they probably are going to be adding more and more Tall Tales as they go along. But it would be nice.
That is a big question, isn't it?
Yeah. But it would be nice if they did add the tall tale of Wonder the Warsmith and the tall tale of Stitch Jim, and as the game progresses, so people can really kind of reflect on what happened in previous expansions and really get to know the lore. In fact, there was one YouTuber talking about bringing lore into the game. For people who are not aware of it, there was one YouTuber called, I'm just going through my Twitter because I did tweet him out. Oh, Goose Gaming, his name was, and he had this idea of card collecting in Sea of Thieves. It was a really, really good idea where basically anything you do in the game, like you find a bit of lore, you find a wall painting, you meet another pirate or something, it gives you a card in the game, like a little playing card. And on that card is all that information around that thing that you found. And then in the game itself, you've got I don't know, like a journal or something that you can flick through, and it will have all of your collected cards. So you can read up the lore, you can read up about certain players, you can read up statistics about how many miles you've sailed or whatever. I just thought that was a really good idea. I just thought I'd sort of do a quick plug for him, really, because I thought that was a very unique idea and something that really kind of shows the lore behind Sea of Thieves. But
we need something like having like our vessel for a lot of the lore in the in-game is told through either the flavor text on items, Salty or Duke for the most part. They're really the main interactive, well, actually not the flavor text, but those are like the two NPCs that are probably the most interactive when it comes to telling us information, because Duke the Dark Lord is always sending us out on some weird thing to go do, and there's no real information about who he is, why he's the only one of the bilge rats, like why he's the vessel for all these, why like where his information comes from, who he's working for. And there's just a lot of questions around, like, do we need him to be the way that we get new lore into the game, or is there a better way that we can like find stuff up? Like and I think that we're going to be getting something close to that. And let's talk NDA for a second. I'm going to put a pin in the whole Tall Tales thing, but
okay.
If I know Rare listens to this, and if I put your name in the title, they'll definitely listen to it. But let's kind of use this as a platform, if you will, to talk about the NDA. Personally, as far as I'm concerned, I'm used to like Blizzard titles where they have public test realms.
Yes, yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to get spoiled with World of Warcraft lore. They don't want to, they don't want to go to like MMO Champion to find out like what's going on, or see data mine stuff like that. And that's easy enough for them to avoid. But they don't have an NDA on any of their public test stuff, because it is a public test stuff, and they realize that the point of it is to bring up a dialogue. And with a company like Rare that is so good at having that communication with their player base, and in using that for development, it strikes me as odd that this would be kind of this kind of goes against their what they're saying, as far as like, hey, we want to hear from you, but don't talk about this. And I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on, as far as, does the NDA that they had for Pioneers still hold value in a public test realm where everyone has access to it? You can't talk about it, but if you want to see it, then you can choose to go see it in this, like at this point.
Well, I would say that I used to play World of Warcraft myself as well, and I knew that getting into their version of Insiders was completely public. You could even just stream it or whatever. They didn't really mind. And I think when Sea of Thieves very first started out, whether they want to admit it or not, it was a very young child in the gaming industry, and they wanted to keep a lot of secrets back then, because there was a lot of development involved from the initial release, and they wanted to make sure that the stuff that they were producing was finished and also not leaked, so when they do release it, it's not going to be a big disappointment for some people. But I think Sea of Thieves now has got a really good ground. It's really sort of blasted out into the gaming industry, and I think there's nobody who doesn't know about Sea of Thieves at this point. And I remember when I first started doing my Sea of Thieves videos, people were always saying this game's awful, it's got no content. I mean, they were wrong, but these days I don't hear people saying that anymore. I don't hear people saying there's no content in this game. I just hear people saying, this game's got a lot better, that they're really enjoying it. But I think with the NDA they've got in at the moment, I think possibly now it's probably good in this period up until the anniversary update. It's probably good to keep this NDA in place. But I think in the future, they should really just open it up and just let people, make videos on it and give feedback through videos or live streaming or whatever. And it's, to me, I've got to be very careful what I say. Some of the stuff I've seen in the Insider, I think right now I'm thinking the amount of content that I could make out of some of this stuff, speculative content I could make. I can wait for it to come out, don't get me wrong, but I'm thinking that if this is going to get more and more like this in the future, then I'm going to be, I'll have too much content, you know what I mean? So I've got to squeeze that hype spot, I suppose you could say, and let it all pour out into the world at some point. So, and I think that's true for everybody else, yourself and streamers and everybody. I think if they're all talking and able to talk about the stuff that is now currently under NDA in the future, it would not only help bring more traffic towards Sea of Thieves, but it would also help out content creators and people who are streaming. It'll increase the numbers, so to speak, of people watching it. Yeah.
And that's kind of my goal with the discussion was it's nice that people don't want to be spoiled on it, but even if you go at length to explain like what's going on in Sea of Thieves, there's so much coming with this update that it would be hard to spoil all of it for everyone at any given time. And to be able to openly discuss, not necessarily like balance changes or stuff like that, but you're right, there is a certain amount of time, and I think Rare is even aware of this with the coming of the 3 weeks of streaming that they're going to be doing, where they dive into like each different section of this mega update. That in one sense, I understand the need to present things from your perspective as a studio to make sure that people are getting the right information and that things are being shown in a light that they want it to be revealed at. But there's a community of content creators, and this week probably felt it the most, where we rely so heavily either on speculation or news that they put out. And not having like a weekly update or a stream, and knowing that much larger news groups are getting access, like private access to game content that we don't have right now, is frustrating, because I would say that we are probably the most loyal of the actual like content creators. Like I listen to a lot of the other like Xbox news sites or other podcasts that focus in on what could potentially have Sea of Thieves news, and none of them have any interest in talking about this game, even with the anniversary update. Most of them are still talking about like how bad Anthem is or Apex or the Division 2. Like a lot of the focus is around like looter shooters right now, or battle royales, and I'm like, guys, there's an amazing game that you were missing out on now, and it's because you're just not paying attention to the heads up. And Rare, as much as I love Rare, I still think Rare is kind of thinking in a smaller mindset as far as like, I mean, they're getting the media in to view it because they want to get eyes on the update and stuff. But like I feel like the NDA is kind of keeping keeping something that could be a bigger story that could be brought out with more YouTube videos to be able to be like, look, this is what's coming. What do you guys think? And then having a larger group of people say yay or nay.
Yeah.
And then having that feedback come back to the content creators, so that the content creators can then push that towards the actual dev team.
Yeah.
And because I don't know about you, but I mean, I don't like forums at all.
No,
I've never been a forum person.
Yeah.
Even with World of Warcraft, like sitting there and being like, I have to go where to look up what about my class?
Yeah.
Can't someone just make a video about that?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
You know, I'd much rather watch a video over like balance tweaks for my dev night than having to go to a forum to dig through notes and give feedback and stuff. But I mean, that's where they want us to go to talk about the insider stuff, and that's just not where I go to talk about my insider stuff.
I mean, a lot of
I do a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of the forum stuff. I mean, I've tried to go on the forums a couple of times, the insider forums, just to see what people talk about, but most of the conversations just basically degrade into people saying, you know, swords are better than pistols, and just goes into that, and it's like, you guys, you're not actually talking about the main core things. All right, okay, I give up. I'm just gonna go make another video instead. But
and it's tough to like kind of spend, you know, how much of your time like scrolling and be like, all right, that dude's yelling at that dude, that dude's yelling at that dude, that one's talking about something that doesn't even pertain to this topic. Why is that even here? And there's not like a good filtered way, but I feel like that's kind of our job as content creators, is to dig through a lot of that, sum it up, and then present it in a way that people can digest it easily.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of hoping that Rare is willing to take a look, especially after the anniversary update, as they go into the future and do more testing with the insiders, that they realize that the NDA feels more, at least for me, it feels more like a roadblock into the discussions that could be had.
I agree. Yeah.
Instead of like, you know, keeping stuff like super close to the chest.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that would be nice to see is not necessarily opening up to absolutely everybody, but maybe having a select few. I mean, it's hard to choose those select few. I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, but maybe have a way that they could get some well-known content creators or whatever to actually publicize this information, as long as they do it in a way where it's completely biased, and you know, they're not saying I prefer this or I dislike this. It's more kind of, this is what you're going to get. Here's an insider peek to it. This is how it's coming along so far, rather than just any Harry doing whatever they want. Because the one problem is that if they do open up the NDA and let people just talk about whatever they want, you're going to get a lot of people who are, you know, say if it was Forsaken Shores that was under NDA, you would get a lot of people saying like, oh, look, all they've done is added volcanoes, woohoo, you know. You get a lot of very negative feedback, and I think that's what they're scared of. I think they're scared people will do that, but they have to have faith in what they're producing, because I mean, I've been in insiders since it came out, and my god, that they're gonna blow the top off with what's coming, and they need to have a bit more faith in their abilities at the moment, because what's coming for Sea of Thieves is going to turn the game essentially around into a brand. It's going to rebirth the game, I think. So they need to think to themselves, you know, we need to bring this out to the general public in future builds and get rid of the NDA and just have everybody talk about it. I think it will. I
think the trust that they have in their community is evident with everything except for the NDA. I think the NDA is just maybe like one of these antiquated things that they just haven't like addressed, outside of just mentioning like, hey, this is an NDA and our justification for it is that people don't want to be spoiled on it, and less about like, hey, you know, we like, it's a lot easier for someone to come out and say like, this is a beta, this is a test, this is not finished content, results may vary, you know, like side effects include, you know, this and this and this. So, I mean, I couldn't be more excited for this update, because I just want to talk about it. I want to be able to discuss all this stuff. There's so many like things on on the podcast that I would just be like, guys, wait till you get to play this, or have you guys gotten to try this, or do you think this is going to lead to that?
Yeah.
And not being able to kind of build this month-long hype that I want to be able to do, not because I'm trying to like, give anyone any kind of false sense of like what's coming with this game, but just because I'm genuinely excited for all the awesome stuff. And as a result, because I can't talk about it, I've actually been limiting like what I do in the insiders, because it's like, well, I could go do this, I could test it, but I know if I test it, then I'm going to know about it. And I kind of want to, I want to be able to talk about it the first time I experience it. And if I can't do that, it's so frustrating.
It really is, because the passion's sort of gone, isn't it, by that point? Because I played a certain thing and I was like, I can't wait to do a video on this thing when it finally comes out. But the problem is now the passion's kind of gone. So when I do a video on that, I'm not going to feel that initial, discovery type thing, and it's a real shame. I mean, when I play the Insiders, I think I said to you, I play it with eyes half shut, because I really don't want to. I want to see what these new things are, but I also don't want to see what these new things are, because I know that it's going to ruin it when I eventually do a video. So it's a very weird place to be, the Insiders. But yeah,
it is. Yeah. It is. There's literally one part I went out and did a certain thing in the Insiders, and it was like 3 a.m. my time. I was like all alone, and I was doing it with there was a couple ships nearby, and I was doing this thing, and by the time I got done, I had literally, I was shaking, because I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe I just experienced that. That is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Yeah. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
But I can't. It's like, I can't talk about it. So
it really does suck. Yeah.
I really can't wait for this update. There's stuff that I've been like, people have been like, hey, Logan, did you check this out? And I'm like, no. And they're like, it's so good. And I'm like, shut up. Tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me, but also don't tell me. That's the kind of thing I get. It's like, tell me.
Yeah. And so I was thinking about this, and it just popped into my head, because I didn't want to forget this. But with the Res thing, we found out that there's going to be comics. We found out that Chris Alcock is working on a new novel. I loved the Athena's Fortune book. I think it was great, and having a new story. Who do you want this new story to focus on? Because the one that we got was Ramses and Rathbone.
Yeah.
Who do you want this new book to go on?
I mean, I want to say Flameheart, but I think that's a bit too cliche at this point. What I would like to see is something completely new happen. Just to bring a new heroine or enemy to the game would be really, really nice. Something that we can all really get behind, to be like, who is this mysterious person? I think in the was it the Tales of Sea of Thieves, the Captain Flameheart's journal, he talks of a guy called the Captain, or the Captain, who was the person who made him drink from the goblet and turned him into a skeleton. But maybe something about him, maybe bring a bit more lore behind that person and what this person is, or who he is. And definitely the Whispering Plague. I want to see some more stuff about this Whispering Plague.
Do you want to go into that? Do you want to talk about that?
We could do, but there's not a lot of stuff.
I know
in the book that.
Well, okay.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've got a lot of speculation behind it, but not a lot of facts.
So that's kind of, because I mean, I know that you'd asked me a while back about that. And that to me is still one of those like kind of really high up, kind of out of reach thing that you're just like, okay, what are they referring to? Because to kind of preface it, if you're willing to go into it, because there's not much that we can really say, because we just don't know. But for those that don't know, in Athena's Fortune, there's the part in the story where Ramses is talking about getting the chains from Old Mother, and being able to use those to eventually build out like the gold skeleton keys and the chests that we have in game, and why we can't open them ourselves. But with the mention of Old Mother, there was the talk about the Whispering Plague, and to me that it feels like such a toss away thing, but at the same time it feels like that just those two words, you're just like, wait, what is this Whispering Plague? Like, is it like an entity? Is it a creature? Is it like an actual plague? Why does it whisper? Is it a reference to death and like the world of the underworld itself, where the ferryman's from? And it just sparks all these possibilities. Like, to me, like like in context, they're talking about Old Mother and Whispering Plague, so I naturally want to kind of group the two together. Like, okay, one is a giant kraken, and then the other is just some other thing, and it makes me think like, okay, could it be a giant bird that's kind of like this, you just barely hear the wings, like a whisper on the wind, and it's just like this plague on the tribes, and they just couldn't do anything about it, like Paradise Plunder Valley kind of stuff. Like, what do you feel as far as like when you think of like Whispering Plague?
Well, I do think a lot on the Neverending Story, in fact, because in Neverending Story they had the Nothing, which was basically the Nothing was people who don't read stories anymore. So it was basically imagination was being taken away, so which would lead to nothing, or essentially growing up. I think that's what the whole film was about. But that's we're not talking about that. But still, I think the Whispering, I think the Whispering Plague is very similar to that. I did a speculation video. I mean, it really is speculation, this, but I have a feeling that the Sea of Thieves is a little bit like the Neverending Story, in the sense that it's a sort of a sandbox where everybody can make their own adventure and talk about the things they've done, and I think it's kind of it's where like basically things like megalodons and krakens and legends are born through the imagination of the people who play it. So it's kind of like the Neverending Story. It's this book that is created, or rather this land that is created via people's imagination. And I think the Whispering Plague, if I had to speculate about it, is the kind of the realization that this place isn't real. So it's kind of it's normality coming into the Sea of Thieves. So things like mermaids, the undead, the kraken, the megalodon are very slowly starting to become, or very slowly not existing anymore. So it's kind of like normality is plaguing the Sea of Thieves, which is, I think, again, it's speculation, but maybe that's what the Shroud is. The Shroud is normality kind of like seeping into the Sea of Thieves and slowly getting tighter and tighter, or in some cases branching out and finding new areas such as Forsaken Shores. But that's my theory on it, and I think that's why you constantly hear this whisper in skulls. You hear it when you do riddle quests. You hear it on the Ship of the Damned. You hear it near the Pirate Lord's cave, and I think that whisper, that sort of whispery soundbite, is something to do with a Whispering Plague. It's kind of like reality whispering to us, saying like, this isn't real, you're playing a game, like, and we're just sort of ignoring it and going, but I need my Athena's chest, so shut up. That's
super meta. You're talking about the one where Sea of Thieves is, right? That was a good one. It's funny because when I saw the title, I was like, oh, that reminds me of the video that Captain J did, and then I actually watched the video and I was like, oh, okay, never mind. Don't worry about that. But and when we were talking about and the Flameheart thing with Captain is exactly kind of what I was thinking would be an interesting thing. With like, I can't remember when it was. I'm pretty sure it was prior to Curse Sales. There was a small graphic that showed a pirate that had the Sovereign set, the metal. I'm pretty sure it's the Sovereign set, the metal chest plate, and. Back then I was thinking like, God, wouldn't it be crazy if you had like conquistadors coming in into the Shroud, from the Shroud, and started hunting pirates? and you know, that was like a new AI threat that you had to worry about. They were actual people, and they had made their way through the shroud. And something like with the captain, like I wonder, like, because you know, with Sea of Thieves being all mystical and kind of insulated with the Devil's Shroud, we kind of live in our own little pirate playground. And I worry that at some point it's going to happen where the outside world is going to find the shroud, and when wherever the outside world is time wise compared to Sea of Thieves, it, like, has me concerned. Like, I'm sure Mike would never do this, but I always worry that we're gonna get like some big battleship that's just gonna sail in and be like, guess what year it is, and we're gonna be like, oh no, it's over. our fun, it's over.
Yeah,
but it's one of those things, like it's such a weird thing to think, like, you know, what could be coming to Sea of Thieves, because right now it feels like everything that we do, we're kind of lords on high right now. We're pirate legends. We're basically cream of the crop, still in single digit numbers as far as like the actual player base goes, and we feel like we know the most about the game until Mike and the team comes out and throws their weight around and says, no, you don't know anything. And we just kind of sit there in awe, just like, oh my god, that's so beautiful, it's so amazing. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, that's
so I'm wondering, like, you know, with stuff coming, I'm constantly thinking, like, what's coming out for E3? What are they doing for E3? What's beyond the shroud? How far will the shroud allow us to see? You know, what are the new threats coming in? Are we ever going to ever have anything from a different time era come into Sea of Thieves? And I don't know. I think part of me is just like, please don't let this end.
No, I guess, like I said, if there was a huge battleship that came in, I mean, it would. Don't get me wrong, something like that would be brilliant. I would love it. It'd be like, my god, timeline shifting, like, you know, like a huge present day battle cruiser comes sailing, and that would be great. But it would also be a little bit sort of game ending for me, because I'd be like, well, we're no longer in a pirate haven anymore. It's now become, you know, Battlefield 3. It's stuff like that. It's cool. One thing I would like to see, however, is because I do find the whole subject fascinating, would maybe be some kind of UFO type thing going on, like not necessarily aliens in a spaceship, but like, you know, some sort of unidentified flying object that is in the skies occasionally, and we don't know where it is, and from years from now we find out that it's actually something explained within the lore, and that's something I'd like to see. More mystery happening.
Even beyond, like, because I mean, for me, I would say that a lot of the tribes and the ancient cultures and stuff, that they're like, I don't know. That's really interesting, because I mean, for me, I'm still waiting for like mermaids to show up.
Yeah,
like I'm still hoping that at some point in time I'm going to wander upon like the magic set of earrings, the little pearl earrings, and then be able to talk to mermaids after that. But you're thinking UFO, like just something in the sky that you can't really make out, that
some
gets
sort of
explained at
I mean
some point.
just I mean, when I say UFO, I mean it very kind of, you know, very laxed. It's kind of something not necessarily flying, something because I remember one time, actually, a friend played a trick on me when I first started playing the game, and what he would do is he would fire his sniper into the air at an angle, and then he would go, oh, dude, look, shooting star, and I would see the bullet falling down, and it would look like a shooting star. And I used to think, that's amazing. They've actually put shooting stars in the game. That's brilliant. And I used to think, that's weird. It only ever happens when I play with my friend. And I put 2 and 2 together. And I was like, oh, damn you. But it's lucky, because I almost did a video on it, and I would have been ridiculed for that. But still, things like that, like there's so many.
Just save it.
Just
save it for April Fools.
Yeah, April Fools. Yeah. Oh, I should have done that. Damn it. Yeah. But I would like to see stuff like that, just little extra bits that has got no basis in the lore, like the books, the comics doesn't explain it, but there's something out there like a UFO, or like a weird cloud that hovers around, or something that just got no explanation that allows people like you and myself to really speculate on it.
So just completely out of nowhere, no rhyme or reason for it. Like
just a thing.
Just a mystery.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the idea of because that was kind of the thing with like originally, back when the game first came out, it was like Krakens. It was like, well, how does Krakens happen? It's like, well, you have to go to a fort, you have to fight over it for about 3 hours, you have to get the fort loot, and then you have to stick every powder keg you can on the deck, and then you have to immediately set sail west with half the sails tilted and one guy ready to accidentally hit the anchor at any given time, and that's how you spawn the Kraken. And then come to find out, it's like, okay, well, there's actual like game mechanics that are in place that kind of work this out. Because I remember like when the game first came out, I came across a kid that was in a proper kid, like young kid. He's in a galleon alone in circles. And we get over there, and I was in a sloop with someone. I can't remember who it was, but we're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm trying to spawn the Kraken." And I'm like, "So you're out in the middle of nowhere, in a galleon, alone, no voyage, and you're just going in circles to get the Kraken. You just want to see the Kraken." He's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Cool, I'm gonna sink you."
Yeah. And
some
say he's still there to this day.
Yeah, somewhere he may have ventured out into the shroud. So do you think there's anything coming with E3? Do you think we're going to be getting anything from the Rare team?
Yeah, I think I would love it. I would love it completely. But when is E3 actually again? What's the date on that? I always forget.
June. I think it's June 10th.
June 10th.
And June 11th is when it starts. It's right around that first to second week of June.
Well, I mean, if
which is real close.
It is, yeah, it's pretty close. But if this update does well, and I think it possibly will, from what I've seen, I think they're going to be getting a hell of a lot more money, hell of a lot more coverage. And I think the update after this is going to be even more extravagant. At least I hope so.
Yeah,
and I think I'm hopeful that they're gonna really once again knock our socks off with something, and I would like to see, not necessarily, like I said before, not necessarily Flameheart, but I would like to see a proper villain in Sea of Thieves, like a persistent villain. However that gets implemented, I don't know, but some kind of proper, proper thing that happens, like was it? Yeah, it was World of Warcraft actually. When I remember, I don't know how long you played World of Warcraft for, but there was yeah, right, okay. There was what was this? What was the name of the floating city again? I always forget. I always get it mixed up with Dalaran. That's it. I always get it mixed up with Darnassus. But yeah, there was that one.
Alliance.
Yeah, well, Alliance and Horde actually.
Well, it's been okay. I was gonna have to cut that podcast real short.
No, I had an alliance that I only ever got to like level 50 something, and I used to just go on just to do auction housing. Basically, that's all I did with him. And then I had
you kind of had to.
Yeah. And then I had my main character, which was I can't remember the level he was because he was the highest level at Mists of Pandaria. So what would that be? Level 100 or something? I can't remember what it was.
I think that was 100 because I think Cataclysm brought us to 90.
That's right. Yeah. But that was a troll shaman. Yeah. So for the Horde. But
sounds nice.
But I do remember
Dalaran.
I do remember in Dalaran there was a I can't remember. It was something to do with the Ancients or not. Were they called the Ancients? I can't remember. I'm getting so mixed up with my game lore. But there was a point where you beat a certain dungeon and you went back to Dalaran and you handed in a certain item and the whole sky went dark and it would show the stars and the whatever these people did, and I would like to see things like that in Sea of Thieves. So say for example you there was some really, really big villain in the game, and if you defeated him, I mean it's difficult to do it in a shared world that's persistent, so maybe not defeat him but maybe put him at bay for a short amount of time. So you could have it so when he's in the game and say if he's on some sort of pirate ship and he's cruising around, when he's in the game, like there's storms everywhere, there's horrible seas, but the second somebody defeats him or puts him at bay for a little while, the sky opens up, the sun comes up, there's planes sailing everywhere, the seas are calm, just for that short duration. So it gives people a reason to actually go off and fight this villain, because it will actually change the entire game world.
So I'm gonna jump in and just say, like, there needs to be like a Blackbeard in Sea of Thieves that has a huge ship or like a huge, completely out of proportion to Galleon's ship that is nigh impossible to solo. Like, you just flee if this thing starts sailing around. But a like a proper pirate hunter that's out there and just have this sense of, because that was the thing with the Pirates of the Caribbean's the Dead Man's Chest with Davy Jones. Like, I remember watching that movie, and he had control of the Kraken and stuff, and like he could summon the Kraken at any time, and he always had like this fog kind of rolling around with him everywhere his ship went. But like, he was a scourge. And I think Sea of Thieves could definitely do with like a Scourge of the Seas. Like, the skeleton ships are great, but they're passive. They don't really go hunting people unless they actually spawn on you. And the megalodons for the most part as well too. Like, they'll spawn and then they'll circle around you. But I kind of want to dread something. Like, I kind of want to dread something other than just regular pirates, because most pirates, depending on where you are in that content flow, like starter content, everyone's going to be doing the content. No one's going to want to hunt each other because no one wants to risk anything. No. Once the content's done, you get the trolls out. And then after a while, the trolls will go away, and then you just get the normal PvP crews that are going out hunting for regular treasure.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a predictable like path as far as I'm concerned, as far as like what you can expect when you go out sailing during certain content areas. But having an update that would bring like something that would actually like change the environment, like bringing water spouts or bringing on fog or being able to summon a Kraken whenever you want, and have it be on something like where you could expect it to just be out in the world and everyone has to kind of narrow in on it. That sounds awesome.
It would be great to have something
that sounds
like that.
Really awesome.
I mean, the one idea that I was talking with some friends about, a evil villain within the game, and a friend of mine said a really good idea. He said that beyond Athena, say if they did add something that was beyond Athena level 10, which is a system where you have to go out and hunt a certain chest within the game that's extremely hard to find, and when you do find it, it's cursed and it will summon this evil villain from a ship, and he will hunt you down until you get rid of the chest or you kill him. But the cool thing was that he said was, if you do kill him, you have to take his place, just a bit like Davy Jones. So you then get the ship for a certain duration of time. So you get this really overpowered ship that can just chase people down and do whatever you want, or you can sell the chest for a large amount of money. So you're kind of stuck. You're like, should I take the ship for an hour and have some fun, or should I sell this chest for 30,000 gold or something? I thought that was a very nice idea.
Yeah, that would be really, really awesome. That was always something that I think I wanted with like liveries and stuff. And I've talked about this in prior episodes, but I feel like the liveries right now are kind of lax. They're and not to disparage the RT, to be perfectly frank, the ship liveries are boring with the colors that they're coming out with lately, especially for the mercenary stuff. I want, I would want to see something where they're actually changing parts of the actual ship, and I don't know how that works as far as like damage goes and how the ship has to look and stuff like that. But the Whaling Barnacle set, especially the figurehead that has all the little coral crustaceans and stuff on it, like that is probably the closest I can think of to like altering the true appearance of the ship, that I can think of. Like the way the skeleton ships look right now, those are so cool. Like even the little sloops look so awesome because they're so drastically different compared to what we're used to seeing out on the seas. And I mean, I would love to have different ship types with the same crew sizes, like having like like Asian influenced or Spanish influenced, or just different influences of types of ships that you could actually pick from to actually sail in. But if at the very least we could get some cosmetics that like I think I would say like the capstans and the wheels and the anchors are the first step towards that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if you look at like how those are built to really dynamically change the look of that actual part of the ship. And I think the liveries and the sails and stuff are kind of lacking in that aspect.
Yes, yeah, they definitely are. Yeah. I mean, I was talking with a friend about the liveries and stuff, because although the new cosmetics, like for example the crab, is it ocean crawler cosmetics, although they're very, very nicely designed. I mean, the art team behind it has done a very nice job. That they're colored nicely and stuff. The problem is it's not pirate for me. It's more World of Warcraft than it is pirate. It's very glowy and very, very, hey, look at me. And I would like to see more actual pirate themed things. For me, it would be great, like you said, about being able to change the look of ships just by putting a different livery on. It would be great to have a livery that is a war-torn livery. So when you put it on, your ship is sort of dark brown. It's got holes in it. It's falling to pieces, very much like the skeleton ships. It would change just little things that you probably wouldn't notice until you got close, but still it would be like, that ship is a lot different to everything else that's in the game. My dog just knocked over a cup.
Yeah.
Stupid thing. But yeah.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think that's something that I think could definitely be touched upon in future updates. Having a big villain that kind of brought in cosmetics with him or her, actually. That would be actually really cool. I would love to have another kind of Wanda, because that was I don't know, I'm a huge feminist, so anytime I can see something other than a white male in a game or a movie or a show or something, I'm just like, yes, good, thank you. Yes, let's do more of that.
Yeah. I mean, the Wanda storyline was fantastic. I mean, I would love to see, because you could relate to her. That was the thing. It was kind of she wanted to sell her cannonballs. That's all she wanted to do. Nobody wanted to buy them, so she went nuts. I mean, I would, but yeah. But yeah, definitely.
You have all this really cool stuff.
Yeah, but definitely a female villain would be very, very cool. Very, very cool indeed.
Yeah. What if okay, so that kind of brings me to Diving Bell, because in the Rare Studios they have that female ghostly figure hanging onto the is it a buoy or is it a crow's nest? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's a buoy. Yeah.
But it looks like it's from the Ferry of the Damned area, and it, like, how nuts, just kind of go with me on this. How crazy would it be if Diving Bell was the master of the ferryman?
Ooh, yes, that's nice. Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
And in the next adventure we go on is to help free the ferryman.
Oh yes, yeah.
From Diving Bell.
That would be so nice. I've said quite a few times it'd be so nice to go into the sea of, is it the Sea of the Damned? That's right. I think that's right.
Yeah.
But to actually have it have it as a mechanic that you have to die to go to the new area is just something that's awesome. But yeah, that storyline you mentioned, that's something that that would be so cool.
Because that's something that I'm still. God, there's so much in this. I could go on for hours. There's so much in this game where I'm just like, that's a thing. But where is it?
Yeah.
Where in the world can I find Diving Bell and be able to like follow that trail and find out, like, where is Flameheart's ship? Like, where did Wanda find that cannon? How was she able to find it and we're not? Like, and with I can't talk about that. Dang it! Nope. Never mind. I can't talk about that thing. So yeah, but yeah, there's like Diving Bell and bringing in like Nine Cats Nerd, bringing her into the story, into the world, to say like her being our ambassador to help us like free her lover from this curse. That has turned her into this undead lord of the damned, and our vessel is the ferryman's vessel, and we have to take the ferryman's vessel to the world of the damned, so that one, we can free him, two, we can help Nura get Diving Bell back, and then or at least bring peace to her soul, whatever you want to call it. But to have something like that, like just I want something like that.
For
like
sure.
That would be, because that kind of ties it back to what I was thinking of as far as like the new book, because I would love to have a new villain that's just like a very menacing captain, but there's so much built right now with the Flameheart stuff that we haven't touched on, and not even necessarily Captain Flameheart himself, but just like the characters around the Flameheart that have been, that like with the torn pages, we know that Nura is still out there writing, or with the pages, and I kind of want to shore that up, but I want it to be told in this kind of amazing love story. If that's like, I would love to have an adventure about this, but at the same time I kind of want this to be like this epic story, like Princess and the Bride kind of thing, like this, like there's true love, like you have to save true love, and the only way that you can save true love is to free Diving Bell's soul from the Sea of the Damned. And during that campaign, you're taken to the Sea of the Damned through the ferryman, and man,
that would be,
I would love that.
That would be very nice indeed.
So I know we're going long here. I don't think anyone's going to care because they like listening to you. But one of the I asked on my Twitter, or on my Discord, to if anyone had any questions for you. I had a couple of people. Trickster reached out and he says, I just want to know, how'd he get so amazing?
It's a funny thing, because for me it's happened so incredibly quickly, and I keep on forgetting my influence on the community some of the time. And I'll use Larry as an example. I made that video about freeing Larry, and I just thought it would be something that would be just between the community members. I thought that's all it's going to be, just a little laugh type thing. And little did I know that it was going to become this huge, Sea of Thieves worldwide thing, where there's people I've never met before who've got Larry on their ship. And it's just nuts to think that because to me, I don't feel like people say, oh, you're famous. I'm like, I'm not really. I've got 40,000 subscribers. I'm just a guy that plays the game. But I mean, it's people to say stuff like that to me, like, how did you get so awesome? I'm just like, I'm just a dude, but thank you.
Yeah. So actually, that reminds me, with Larry, do you do the voice of Larry?
No, I don't. It's Brian Blessed who does the voice. Not Brian I didn't Blessed. Actually ask him to do it. There's a voice pack thing you can download for a different game called Elite Dangerous, and he did a voice pack for it, and you can use it like copyright free. So it's basically Brian Blessed, and he's a icon of mine, so I thought it would make sense to have him as Larry.
That's too funny. That's great. One of the other more trollier guys, Space Admiral Ors, asks, how many times do you get asked to do a Falcore punch?
I don't think that's ever come up. That's never come up. No one's ever asked me to do a Falcore punch. Which is a little bit disappointing, because I'm like, come on, it's the material's right there.
It's right there. It's right there. It's so low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You're gonna walk into it. Cam Bones asks, he who runs the Sea of Thieves stuff, or Sea of Fashion stuff. Back when the game first came out, he had the Sea of Fashion Xbox group and Twitter, and it's just a really nice guy. He says, I've watched all of your Secret of videos, and I'm a big fan of your thoughtful analysis of the game. Would you consider doing a Secrets of the flavor text to dig into all of the item descriptions into the game and see what lore you can squeeze out of them? The same could be said for all of the various character dialogues in the game. How much of that stuff is meant to be taken seriously is, of course, up for debate. And then the second question is, do you have any wild theories about where the game's story or lore is headed, or about the history of the Sea of Thieves that has yet to be fully confirmed?
Wow. Okay. That's a certain question. Right. First of all, Secrets of, thank you for watching the videos, and thank you for saying that they're good and everything. That's always nice. But the flavor text in the game, that's something I've been kind of thinking about for quite some time now. I've got a weird process when I make videos that majority of the videos that come out are usually produced about a month prior to when they're actually released. I do them I make sure that I release them at the right times. So I sort of keep my hand on the pulse of the community and look for what people are talking about. If they talk about a certain subject that I've made a video on, then I release the video. It's just a good way to get people talking about that subject and also get views for myself. I mean, that's the reason I do it, is to get views. So, but yeah, the flavor text definitely is something I've looked at a lot, because there is a lot of it, and there is some of it, like you said, that you shouldn't really concentrate on. It's just the developers having a laugh. But there's some of it that is actually very got a lot of backstory in it within the lore. I mean, most of it is Easter egg based, but it's still, some of the Easter eggs are still kind of relevant to the lore. So I noticed a lot with the Devil's Shroud, with the Forsaken Shores. That was when we got a lot of new cosmetics that had a lot that actually pertained to the lore itself, as far as like the tribes and who they were, the fact that there were different tribes for the different seas, and just how like the Wilds tribes being purely like ship based. That is such a crazy concept to me. Like there was a whole tribe of people that they didn't ever find their homestead on the actual islands. They just, and I mean, I don't blame them. Look at the ones. It's disgusting. Especially crooked masts. Oh god.
So, but yeah, I mean, I would love to have like more people talking about the flavor text, and if you did kind of a deep dive in to try and connect some of the stories and stuff, I think there's enough there. Maybe even more after the update, actually. Now that I think about it.
I mean, I am hoping.
Are you looking forward to all the...
Sorry, carry on.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that there's a lot of islands in the game people have been asking me to do. I think somebody asked me to do Wanderer's Refuge was one of them. And I had to explain to them that the only real lore in Wanderer's Refuge is what the game's already given us. There's not really, there's some dilapidated buildings, but there's nothing sort of backstory behind that. So, I mean, it could be to do with the Shroud. It could be to do with some sort of, huge war that happened. But there was a lot of islands that I can't do lore on because there's simply nothing there to do. It'd be very much speculation rather than lore. So, yeah.
Is it weird to you that we have foundations for buildings but no major structures built? Like, I think Wanderer's Refuge actually is kind of one of the few where there's actually still some remnants of the actual buildings, especially on the south end of it, where like there was something there. There's nothing now, but then again, you look at like Golden Sands, and like Golden Sands is a proper like outpost. But you look at Wanderer's Refuge and it's like, was that just like some governor who just had like a homestead up there? Like what is with some of the foundations that we have in the game?
I've forgotten, was it in the book or is some part of the lore? I think it was Diving Bell mentioned that some parts of the Sea of Thieves were covered by the Shroud, but only recently came into the Shroud. I can't remember. Was that Shores of Plenty or was it? Yeah, because
it was. Yeah, it was Shores of Plenty, because that was where the Flamehearts, like some of those areas had been pulled back as a result of the Shroud moving, and some areas would be engulfed and some areas would open up, and I think that's like, for example, like the Forsaken Shroud was the first in-game reference to the Shroud pulling back.
Because I'm wondering if that's what the buildings are. They were there before the Shroud, came over them, and they do say the Shroud, was it digests wood and warps metal or something, so maybe the Shroud ruined all those buildings and it's being uncovered again, and it's in the state it is in now. But
which makes me wonder if we'll ever have like areas in the Sea of Thieves. Like right now, everything that we have in game is it's there because that's where the voyage is, that's where the game actually is designed around, and for the most part stuff that is in the game is probably going to stick around and just be built up too. But I always wonder, like, could islands actually be consumed by the shroud for a certain amount of time? Like during an event, could there or an update, could there be areas where, like, you know, half of Shores of Plenty just disappears to the shroud because
that would be nice.
The shroud just moved in, and you just don't get to sail in those areas for a while. In that you come back and you find out that, you know, like buildings are gone or buildings have changed. Like, and the reason I bring that up has to do with the fact that we don't have like proper towns or like forts in the game. And I'm wondering, like, you know, is that something where we need to have the shroud kind of consume what's there, give the team time to build, change, and develop, and then when the shroud like recedes, there's nothing there for a time, and then as updates come, like the outposts slowly build themselves up to be like more made out of stone, something that would persist.
Yeah, that would be nice. That's because that's something that they could definitely like you said, it will give them time to actually say, for example, they could cover up Smuggler's Bay and leave it covered up for a couple of months, and then when it resurfaces, it's completely stripped of everything. It looks very much like one of the Devil's Raw islands, and over a course of 2 or 3 weeks starts to, you know, get its vegetation back. Then people move in, maybe turn into a new fort or something. Hold on, my wife's just come in. Hello, dear. Thank you. She just gave me a coffee. That's love. I do like that idea, and maybe even in the future having the shroud similar to the storm that we've got in the game, where the shroud is a constantly evolving weather system. So some of the time an island will get completely covered in the shroud, and you have to run out of there quickly, or you know, suffer the victim of the shroud, or
That's I've always kind of wondered, like, why the shroud is so kind of like, I understand mechanically like why in the game the shroud is what it is, but if I'm living in that world and I think about the shroud, I feel like the shroud should be something that does kind of ebb and flow, like it moves with the water and it decides, you know, to move in. You know, I'm talking as if it's like an actual being, but when it moves in, it engulfs like half the island for a certain amount of time, and you can go in it, but if your ship's there, then good luck. You're not gonna have your ship, and that's just one of those things where you have to worry about, like, is the shroud coming? Do I have to move my ship? Is it something that you know, I need to get off the island, or if I can hang out? Things like that. Like I've always wondered, how come they haven't utilized the shroud as like a threat in itself, outside of just being like, these are the borders for the Sea of Thieves.
I mean, this is the one thing with the fog system that came in. I was a little bit disappointed that there wasn't some sort of damage system with the fog, because I mean, they called it Shrouded Spoils, and my first initial thought when I heard the title, I thought, oh, they're actually going to be bringing the shroud into the game as a but then they just using the word shroud as in, you know, fog. So a little bit disappointed on that, but at the same time I can see, you know, why they didn't have the fog as a damageable, you know, weather encounter, because there would be a lot of complaints, let's face it. But definitely the shroud being a proper force within the Sea of Thieves would be very nice. And also the shroud in its current state would be nice to see it updated so it actually looks like the shroud, and not just as my friend says, Kool-Aid. actually have it as, you know, fog, and, you know, there's some very weird things happening in it and stuff.
I would love to see a ship actually deteriorate, like, I'm not talking like Thanos snapping his fingers, like deteriorate, but like kind of parts of it like breaking away and whatnot. But just kind of thinking off the cuff, I think it would be interesting if you're in the shroud, having like these kind of ghostly wraiths like just kind of rip off parts of the ship as you persist in it. Like the shroud is just this like force, and it's not necessarily like damaging the ship, that it's just like that's what the shroud does, but that there's actually like a force of nature that is like ripping apart the ship with these like kind of ghouls or like spirits. You know, have something that actually represents why you're taking damage, as opposed to just taking
Yeah,
damage.
yeah. Reminds me of I don't know if you know the film, but Langoliers, Stephen King film, or the book as well. But yeah, it's very very similar to that.
Yep. Yeah. God, man, I did not like those Langoliers when that film came out too.
Yeah.
And Toomey with the paper shredding. I hated Toomey.
Yeah. God,
yeah. Sorry, that's just very specific thoughts about that film just popped into my head. But yeah, something like the Langoliers, where it would constantly like kind of chew away at the world as it was like.
Yeah.
Spoilers. It's they were in the past.
Yeah.
And as they moved into the future, like the Langoliers would eat the reality of the past, which is a weird concept.
Yeah. Also quite fitting for Sea of Thieves as well. Actually, it could very well be something like that. That could be what the Whispering Plague is. It could be time catching up on itself. Interesting theory.
I like how you just brought it around, brought it right back around. That was and then the I mean, I guess we've talked pretty much theories in regards to the second question as far as like wild theories. With the lore and the history of Sea of Thieves, if there's anything that has yet to be confirmed that you have wild theories about. We've kind of been talking about that for an hour and a half now, but is there, as we kind of wrap things up, is there anything that you'd like to say or plug? Anything that you want to?
Not really, no. I mean, the only thing I'd like to say is it's just been a pleasure talking with you, really. I mean, we've sort of talked one-on-one on Twitter occasionally and liked each other's posts, but we've never actually had the chance to properly sit down and talk with each other, and it's been a very awesome little thing. I'm trying to think of anybody that I could plug. I mean, the only guy is Goose Gaming for that video that I mentioned earlier on. He's done an extensive amount of work on that video, so definitely go check out Goose Gaming on YouTube. He's got some good stuff coming out. I can't really think.
Where can people find you?
People find me usually in a bus stop somewhere crying. No, well, you can find me on YouTube, Captain Falcore, and you can find me on Twitch as Captain Falcore, and I think that's the only places I visit. Yes, I don't go anywhere else.
Okay. Do you have a set stream schedule?
Not at the moment. I tend to stream usually Mondays and Wednesdays, but I haven't put a schedule down yet because time's very, very lax. I've actually managed to get myself to a point now where I'm doing my full-time, what was my full-time freelance graphic design. I've now been able to pull that down to part-time, just basically from getting revenue and stuff from YouTube and Twitch. I'm able to actually do my proper job part-time, but it still means my job is still there. So nice. I still have to make time for that, and also time for my wife and life itself. So but until the foreseeable future, I'm just going to stream when I feel like it. So yeah, usually Mondays and Wednesdays. Sometimes I do a late stream on the weekends, but it's usually during the day in England. What would it be now? British Standard Time it would be now. So 12:30 p.m. till about 3:30 p.m. and then 7 p.m. till about 10 o'clock on the weekends if I stream. But it's always Sea of Thieves. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And then any messages for the devs?
I mean, I could do the cliche thing and say keep up the good work, because they're doing great work. They really, really are. I'm trying to think, actually, have I got any messages for them? I don't know. I mean, they've made me happy. I'm enjoying the game.
Yeah.
I would say they definitely need to say new and interesting ways more often, because that's laxed off recently. I think I think the public have stopped them from saying it, but I do like the new and interesting ways. They need to make that more and more prevalent in the future.
I think it's because we haven't seen Chapman around.
Yeah, true.
True.
He's the birth
been
of
missing.
Where has he gone? It's interesting. Maybe.
I think they have him locked up.
Yeah, probably.
I think he's been stuck in a brig somewhere for weeks. And I was talking with him one day, and I was keeping him longer than I probably should have. And the last little bit, he's like, "All right, thanks for the chat. I have to go see my wife because I don't see her anymore." And I'm like, "Oh God, I'm so sorry. Why did I sit here talking with you?"
I would love to sit down and have a chat with Mike Chapman, though. I've tried to reach out to him a couple of times on on Twitter and say, I'd love to just talk about not necessarily what's to come in the game, but how the game was, produced and, the whole backstory. I mean, I know a lot because of what I've seen on Twitter, but I would love to get the, from the horse's mouth, so to speak, the proper perspective of how it all built up. It'd be great.
Yeah. I find myself shouting at him in DMs a lot, and every once in a while, like I'll catch him at the right mood, and he'll just be like, "Let me just talk to one of these little kids. Let me show them what's lore. This is actual lore, son here." And I'll get his ear for a little bit, and that's just like it's like a magical moment. I'm just like, oh my god.
It's funny because I can talk to the developers. I mean, they're following me and stuff, but I get that kind of fanboy thing going on where I'm kind of like, I think I spoke to Joe Neat recently on DM, and I was asking him if he could get some photos actually for tomorrow's video, some photos of the ship that was built by Choc Moju, Muju even. And he got back to me and said, it's probably best if you ask one of the CMs for it. But the main reason I was asking him is because I wanted the picture of him with the ship. But still, I asked him. But yeah, I very kind of pussyfoot myself around the devs. I'm like, hello, Mr. Man. I'm that person. Hello. And I keep on forgetting that just like me, they're human beings. And if I did say to Joe Nate, yo, fella, could you get me some photographs? He wouldn't even bat an eyelid. Yeah,
it's funny. I still like at this point I basically shout theories and questions to Mike and some of the other devs. Craig Duncan's the only one that I'm still like very proper with.
Right.
Like he's still very like, yes sir, thank you sir, appreciate your follow sir. You have yourself a nice day. Love the dogs.
I think the last thing I said to Joe Neat, which was a little bit cheeky, but I thought I got to get some of my personality in there. I can't find the tweet now. Hold on, where it was it's a DM. I can't find it. It's got so many DMs on Twitter, it's ridiculous. But he said, I said to him, could you get these photos for me? If it's at all possible, if you've got the time. I realize you're very busy. And I said, I realize you're very busy. Making sure the shrouded ghost doesn't spawn. But if you could get it done, I'll be very, very generous. And I'm not sure how he took that. I'm hoping he took it well. Not that I wasn't sort of but he just said, he just said, it's probably best to ask Emma. So I was like, all right, okay, I'll do that. And then she came through. She sent me some very nice stuff, actually. She managed to get the team to all stand around the ship and do pretend shocked faces, and she took some video footage of them thanking Choc Muju. I thought it was really, really nice of her to go out of that, make the effort just for me. Yeah, it's really, really nice of her, and Choc Muju as well.
Yeah, I love that CM team too.
Yeah, they're great.
They're just so great. They really go above them. In the devs too. The few devs that I have conversations with are just they're some of the best people. Like I've been playing games since I was a wee lad, and to have this kind of relationship with a studio is it's breathtaking. Like, how often do you just get to talk to random devs? Like, I have a couple friends for like Heroes of the Storm that I've met through other friends at like BlizzCons and stuff, and we talk and we converse and hang out and stuff. But like I have like a line in the sand that's like, don't talk to them about Heroes of the Storm because they're not going to say anything. Rare is like so willing just to like tease you, just the cutest little stuff every once in a while, and you're just like, oh yeah, you guys are awesome. You really love this.
I mean, it's the thing, it does feel again, it's another cliche, but it does feel like a little family. It's this sort of this hub of people sort of one-on-one giving jips at each other and occasional leaks, and it's just great. It's like we're all sort of friends, it's like we're all sat at having a Sunday roast with the family, and Mike Chapman's a little bit drunk and he starts to talk about too much stuff, and so you got Craig Duncan at the fireplace, all that kind but
yeah. I feel like John and Joe are somewhere off in another room, like fighting each other on Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or something, and they're just constantly trying to one up each other.
Yeah. And then you got Shelley Preston acting as the mother, shouting upstairs to Joe and John, like, "Will you keep that noise down?" Shut up, Shelley.
Shelley is. I heard you the first time, Mom. I'll be down in a second. Yeah. Oh man, I love that team. I can't think of I can't think of another group of developers where I've I've sought them out, like learn their names, wanted to get to know them, wanted to learn more about who they are, and followed them so like persistently. Like it's one thing to see, like, you know, studio head and be like, oh my god, it's the guy from Bethesda and he's got stuff in Skyrim, and oh my god, it's so amazing, Fallout on the Fallout. Yeah. And then it's another to have like an actual rapport online with actual game developers from a studio who are building this thing that they're excited to give to us, and they get to work on a daily basis. But just to see like our reactions to it, it's a treasure. Yeah. It's an absolute
really
treasure.
Is. And the fact as well that they talk about and retweet in length some of the time about just people who are just playing the game, not content creators or streamers or anything, just some random Joe that's put a screenshot up of a megalodon eating their girlfriend or something, and they just like, hey, look at this is great, and they actually do have a conversation in the tweets. It's not just, you know, here's a picture, you know. They actually sort of talk about what happened and things, and it's great. You don't see that in other games, really. You don't see developers talking about just random Joes that something that happened. No. You know, it's really, really great to see.
Yeah, I've never seen a company so dedicated to not only like involving the community members in content on a weekly basis, but to engage with them, sail with them, to you know, to be able to take their feedback, you know, without having a chip on their shoulder about it. Like it's so refreshing to see that. And I think if anything can be taken away from their endeavors to make this game is that every game studio needs to have a real sit down serious look at like how they approach their community, because so many games alienate their player base because they're afraid of feedback, that it kills the thriving community that could be happening around it. And I think that's the thing that I love the most about this game is the game itself, but the community and the studio, and how this kind of trifecta has emerged from a game that people panned at release and has since proven itself time and time again. It didn't need to prove itself when it was released. It was a great game when it came out, and the fact that they put the nose to the grindstone and just constantly iterated and improved and built on that base that it started out with is it's insane to me that people had the gall to sit there and be like, that's a great meh.
Yeah.
See you in a year. I'm like, oh
yeah,
slap you.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on to talk.
That's fine, dude. That's fine. It's been a pleasure.
It's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I wanted to make sure that if I was going to start having guests on, that it was going to be with people that I really value their thoughts and their opinions, especially when it comes to just every aspect of the game.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
So thank you for that.
That's fine.
And I think that's going to do it, and call it here.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay.